Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 5 of your series in Golden League. We are here in Elite Playoffs. This is week number 1. And down in the south side, or rather the east side of the map, spawning in as the red Rus player, we have got Beastyqt.
And on the left side, it is going to be DeMusliM playing as the French in blue. Gotta love how the flags match up the player colors. That is going to help us a lot. This is something we always complain about, right, when we start off. It's like, okay, a red French player is always something that a player or a caster can confuse with the other player.
Especially when the opposite player is a blue Rus player. And this was something that we actually requested to the admins of the tournament. We said, look, if there's a situation where someone with a blue flag is picked and they're technically like meant to be the second player, can we get them in the first player slot instead? That way they're playing as the blue color and they are also a blue flag. And that way it doesn't confuse the brain, because the brain, you can't handle a lot of information, at least not like that. You can handle complex calculations, but you give something a red flag and a blue color and we got problems.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I don't know why the players are just not picking their colors in the lobby. Oh, wait.
It wasn't in the contract, Lidakor.
Yeah, it wasn't in the contract. Maybe
look, you can...
Maybe
we can do an amendment.
Patch?
Yeah, it's going to cost you, though. It's going to cost you. But let's take a look. I want to have a look at DeMusliM's base. I want to see if he's actually on the hunt or whether he's just going to be under the town center on sheep. It's obviously an option to go onto those hunt nice and early. It doesn't look like he's taken that option, though. Instead, just going to be sitting underneath the town center and not opening with an early mill either. Something we have seen French players do is opt for an early wheelbarrow. Not going to be the case here. I'm curious to see whether we are going to be seeing an early second town center out of him, but so far everything looks very effective or efficient on getting up to that next stage. A couple of idle villagers underneath the town center. Oh, you hate it. Ooh. You hate it when this happens. This is just absolutely terrible, and this is something that happens very commonly against the Rus as well as for the Rus. You like to be a little bit more greedy out of the map, don't you?
Yeah, you have to go for those hunts, especially now that you have 2 different patches that you have to find for each player when it comes to the secondary hunt. You are trying to go for those hunts and you forget about the fact that you don't have sufficient sheep under your town center. And you see, DeMusliM has to send out villagers to those berries, but he's doing so without a mill, and those villagers have to walk all the way back. And you can see that DeMusliM did not pick up his sheep back at home. That is because he's trying to go for the ones that are neutral, that are in the middle of the map. Because if he starts off with his own sheep, then that allows Beast to just pick up the sheep from the middle. And with this, he was a little idle under the town center. School of Cavalry coming in, so no cheeky Chamber of Commerce shenanigans coming in here. Although this map is technically suitable for trading, I have a dream of one day seeing a trade attempt in a 1v1 tournament game on this map.
One day we'll see it. Maybe when the arena gets officially supported, then we'll see it coming through. But until then,
if you think about it, 2 months ago,
yeah,
we would have said that the Abbey of the Kings is not something that you will ever see in competitive play, so you never know.
Actually true. And speaking of actually true, have a look at Beastyqt's base. I just realized, look at the hunt that he's on. He's got a couple of deer that he's pushed all the way to the town center. He's got 2 of them out there. So that's going to help him out a huge amount, because he did actually go idle with the lack of sheep underneath the town center there. But we do see an early wheelbarrow coming through for him. So make sure you get your wheelbarrow alarms out. DeMusliM going to be thinking about the same thing over on his side of the map, but still yet to take out Stone, it looks like. So no second town center coming through at this early stage of the game just yet.
Yeah, no second town center for him indeed. He did rush that fuelage quite a bit, as you pointed out. He just stuck around on sheep, didn't even move out towards the hunt himself. Whereas on the other side, for Beasty, he does have 270 bounties, so he has cracked that tier 2. He has gotten a decent amount of deer under that town center as well. And he's actually up to 4 scouts, so quite a lot of those out there on the battlefield harassing DeMusliM quite a bit.
Yeah, this is so painful to deal with. So you want to know something funny? The developers fixed the scouts interrupting villagers that are trying to gather up gold, but they didn't actually fix villagers that are trying to deposit the gold. And that's the problem, because when a villager tries to deposit a resource, it has to do an animation. That animation to deposit the resource still gets interrupted by the scouts. So you could see that was what was happening there, and DeMusliM just says, you know what, I'm not even going to bother collecting gold. There's just no point. The scouts are going to be out here all the time. I'm just going to fall back. And now, speaking of fall back, take a look at this. We got a boar being taken, but it's not going to be the one in the middle of the map that gets taken a little bit closer to DeMusliM's base. It's going to be down towards the south side, a little bit outside of where you'd normally expect it.
Yeah, it feels very similar. Oh, that scout could be taken down. But yeah, it's very similar to what we have seen from DeMusliM in game number 1, where he went for the boar that was considerably closer to him, less exposed, and he was just using that boar as a very efficient source of food rather than, you know, the proxy base. And this could be out of the line of sight of DeMusliM for a long time, making it difficult for him to pressure. And if you look at the other boar spot, that would have been very risky for Beastyqt to go for. Like, that boar is almost right next to the base of DeMusliM.
Yeah, well, that's a great invitation for him, isn't it? You know, take that board, build a nice little forward base, and really put the pressure on. But DeMusliM now going to be gathering up stone. So he's going to be thinking about dropping down a second town center. We can see he's got 6 villagers on there already. So he is intent on getting this bad boy up as soon as possible. But we can see that the boar has now been taken towards the south. I wonder if we'll see a wooden fortress down here. I expect that we won't.
Oh, that would be very ballsy here from Beasty. I mean, he knows that there is a school of cavalry out there. Okay, there is the wooden fortress. Gotta love that.
All right.
He needs it. I feel like you can't get away with just having those undefended villagers out there against the French. If ever a single knight goes down to that southern part and you don't have a tower, you lose 8 villagers. That's unacceptable.
That's true, that's true. And I guess that's always going to be a possibility playing up against DeMusliM, one of the best players in the world. He is not going to skip a beat when it comes to somebody trying to sneak a boar in the bottom side of the map. He's definitely going to make sure that it is he's able to keep up with it. But Beasty's starting to run out of food underneath the town center. You can see he's got about 3 sheep there, but instead going to be looking to drop down a hunting cabin on that hunt that's very close to his town center. Plenty of units still coming out for DeMusliM, and we are going to see that second town center getting dropped down now for him. So he's going to be dropping it down. Look at the position that he's got up here, up towards the north of his base, so on the berries together with the hunt. So not a bad little spot for him here. We did talk about that before, about the fact there wasn't a clear second spot or a clear decent spot for your second town center, but I think this is a pretty good consolation prize for him.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent spot. You prefer to drop your second town center on food, and you still do touch that hunt, and you do have the berries over there, so it's probably your best bet. Maybe on the left side it could have been an option, because his primary hunt is untouched, but I guess he's just going to mill that, and he wants to spread his base out a little bit. Gotta love these trenches being built by Beasty, though, because he's respecting the fact that his opponent's got some knights over there, and for a brief moment, Vodka has shown us that there are 3 tickets available on that golden gate. So Beasty can start balancing his eco and potentially go into Castle Age, and then I guess start to pick up the relics and then follow up with the second town center.
Yeah, we'll look to see how he plays it, but that definitely seems to be the right approach from here. It's interesting to me to watch DeMusliM because he hasn't been particularly aggressive, but we now actually see him moving out. Was that an outpost coming down on that central sacred site that we just saw there? I swear I saw a villager dropping an outpost.
He did that. I think he's afraid that Beasty is just going to fast castle here. And we know how Beasty loves to play. Like, Beasty isn't going to shy away from just capping those sacred sites, walling them in, and then forcing DeMusliM to push, right? So you gotta respect Beasty's ability to start that sacred site countdown, and I love that DeMusliM is preemptively responding to that.
Yeah, very interesting play from him. Now, behind this, the question is, where does DeMusliM go from here? Does he look to play it in feudal? This is something that we've seen players do a lot. They will play a very heavy feudal age, look to drop down double archery ranges, look to eventually even move into barracks. But obviously, he's going to be going up against Beastyqt on the Rus. And the question is, what direction does Beastyqt go? Because he has got a number of options for him. We've seen men-at-arms and rams. We've seen horse archers being the flavor of the week, it seems. They were the flavor of the week quite some time ago, a few months ago, really. But they're making their way back in, aren't they?
Yeah, they're making their way back, that's for sure. Looks like we're going to have multiple towers coming up here, actually, from DeMusliM, fortifying that entire central area. He's understanding the fact that he's not going to have a ton of army on the battlefield, and Beasty, he could go for like double, triple archer ranges, get some horse archers out, and start picking off those villagers. We have seen how DeMusliM did that to Beasty in game number 1. So Beasty is fully aware of the capabilities of the horse archers and exploiting their mobility to pick off a couple of villagers in early castle.
Yeah, that could be something he looks to do. We'll have to see how he plays because he's got to be adding in the 3rd archery range now. So he is definitely intent on going into the horse archers. So we are seeing a resurgence right now of horse archers. It's not just DeMusliM that is looking to lay down the law with these horse archers. We see a bit of a wall coming down here as well for DeMusliM. Interestingly placed. I think there might be a bit of a passage through that what's it called? The large range up towards the north. Yeah, the ridge. Yeah. So
yeah.
Ooh.
Actually, no.
I don't know if that... Yeah, those rocks look pretty damn sharp, don't they? So, yeah, you could have gotten away with maybe a bit of a smaller wall, but it can be hard to tell sometimes. You never really know with those. Yeah, look at that. Oh, geez, that's so close, isn't it?
Yeah, that shouldn't be traversable. This being said, we have seen some wacky scenarios where it doesn't seem traversable, but it is, so it's better to be safe than sorry for DeMusliM.
Yeah, DeMusliM now going to be aging up, so it looks like it's going to be a castle option for him. Not going to be looking to stick around in feudal too long. Royal Institute coming down. I am not surprised to see this. We have been seeing a lot of this coming out, and you got to be really careful against these Royal Institutes. I played up against one of these the other day. I underestimated the knights. I'm like, yeah, I can do fine. I'm fine. I've got like 50 spears, right? You think 50 spears is enough? Nope. Not against, you know, when you're talking 25, 30 Royal Knights that have got their upgrades, you know, their Royal Bloodline upgrades. That is a lot of damage that they are going to be doing. They've got so much health, they just survive everything. And that's what DeMusliM's going to be looking to do today.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I'm hoping that you at least didn't forget your spearman upgrades, because that could influence the outcome of those battles. But yeah, indeed, those knights could become very sturdy. And the thing I love about that is that horse archers, they're not meant to stand and fight. They're meant to shoot and retreat. But if it takes so many arrows to deal with those knights, at some point you run out of space where you can retreat too, right? It's like just one swarm of knights coming in that are really difficult to kill, and then suddenly you will have to retreat all the way back into your base, and that's where the knights will just split up and start killing your eco. So this could be interesting for DeMusliM. I don't hate this, to be honest. In fact, this could be a quite high upside play from DeMusliM.
Yeah, I like this. I think this has definitely got a lot of potency, and he's looking for a nice little timing here. I think, as you mentioned before, you know, with the horse archers, you don't want to stand and fight. You want to be running and kiting, and he's going to be looking to come in now, going to be able to dish out a whole bunch of damage before this outpost is able to get up, and you can see DeMusliM decides to just roll the dice here and say, you know what, I'll see how many villagers I manage to keep alive. Looks like 5 or 6 villagers going to be going down there, so quite a bit of a windfall coming in for Beastyqt. Able to keep that villager count down to a difference of 12, so ain't too bad considering there's a whole bunch of relics being brought in now for Beastyqt as well.
Yeah, that is a pretty decent value out there for Beasty, although he did lose quite a lot of horse archers. And there is a second town center coming in, which is almost mandatory against the double town center build. And with him having 3, potentially more than that, in terms of relics, and having the second town center, his eco is going to be really good. So the question becomes, can he hold off all those knights? Because as you said, at some point, DeMusliM is going to show up with like 25 veteran royal knights with the royal bloodlines upgraded Cantle settles, and it's gonna be like, okay, what do I do against that? And Beasty's prepping with barracks, it seems.
Yeah, interesting from BC to be going into this. Probably he's definitely spotted that Royal Institute, so knows that it is definitely going to be a play here into those Royal Knights. But one of the other options that you're going to have playing with the Royal Institute is the option of going into crossbows or going into arbalètrier, because you have access to crossbow stirrups in Age 3 as well. And that is going to be that upgrade that increases the attack or the attack speed, reduces the time it takes between attacks for those crossbows. So they're going to be doing a little bit higher damage.
Looks like Siege Engineering is on the way here for Beasty, which is a bit of a surprising upgrade, especially given the fact that that is the only blacksmith upgrade that he's going to have. So prioritizing that over a ranged attack upgrade, you gotta wonder if that's a misclick or a wrong hotkey or something, because I just don't see him using Siege Engineering directly. I mean, he might be thinking about cleaning up those towers or trying to break through these walls, but no, these walls are open. I don't understand that Siege Engineering from Beasty.
Yeah, I'm not too sure exactly either. But I guess it could make sense. Well, one of the things I have seen players do is just mass up a whole bunch of rams, especially as the Rus. Obviously, he's got the wooden fortress out, which is going to be buffing up his existing wood supply. So he's going to have an excess of wood throughout the game, at least more so than other civilizations. So it could make sense for him to go heavily into that and use that as an alternative to, say, making a whole bunch of trebuchets. That could be an option for him. We'll have to see how he goes about it. But yeah, at this point in time, military numbers still pretty small. We can see that no player really yet to invest, but actually getting royal bloodlines through, as well as cantled saddles, going to be coming through for DeMusliM. So both of those imperial upgrades coming through, as well as chivalry, going to be coming through for the Royal Knights. So he's looking to go full Royal Knights at this point, and that's going to help out. Well, that's going to be great for Beasty because he is investing into mass spears. And third town center coming down for DeMusliM.
Yeah, DeMusliM is trying to do two things at the same time, going for a pretty massive army and also going for a massive eco boost over here. He's actually going to find quite a lot of villagers over here with those knights, and he's going to be able to disengage without losing a single unit, so the value is definitely there. But it's indeed surprising that DeMusliM is committing so much resources to upgrading those Royal Knights with those otherwise expensive upgrades. Even with the Royal Institute, some of those upgrades are pretty expensive. And also dropping a third town center. So you gotta wonder if he's just going to use this group of Lancers to play a defensive game, boom on 3 town centers, or he's gonna be the aggressor in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, it's interesting because it sort of forces a response from your enemy, doesn't it? One of the things to remember, like, as soon as you see that, you're thinking, okay, my enemy probably going to go heavy on cavalry. So I've immediately got to react. And we saw Beastyqt straight away go for veteran spearmen and look to drop down barracks immediately. So that forces a response and it kind of delays. And we do actually see a battering ram coming out here for Beastyqt. So actually making use of that siege engineering. But yeah, I think DeMusliM's definitely playing it very smart. He's setting himself up for the late game. With that third town center, it's really going to enable him to start taking off with the economy, because not only does he have 3 town centers, he's also got that French bonus, which means that he's sitting on the equivalent of about 3.6 town centers compared to Beastyqt's 2.
Yeah, indeed. His villager count is going to skyrocket very soon. One thing that's a little annoying for DeMusliM right now is that grabbing the Royal Institute means that he's skipping the guild hall, and sure thing, he's going to have the upgrades in Castle Age, but if this game goes very long, that's not going to have a major impact as compared to having a guild hall available. So usually when you see that Royal Institute, you get that because you want to be aggressive in Castle Age. If you get to Imperial, in the long run, having the guild hall is obviously a better choice. So you gotta wonder if DeMusliM is actually thinking about just going full Castle Age even here, potentially. So, you know, having that eco boom up, but instead of trying to play the late game, trying to go into Imperial, just unleash 30 knights at one point, potentially timing it in a way that Beastie is going up to Imperial in that very moment.
I was just thinking that. I was thinking, you know what? That would actually be a total play. If you're just sitting there massing up knights, Beastie not really aware of it. You can see the outposts are here, providing line of sight. Beastie did send out a little bit of a bit of a feeler with that battering ram. It obviously got denied quickly by the cavalry. But now the cavalry continues coming in. And keep in mind, DeMuslim's got 11 knights out on the field at the moment. These are a lot of those knights. But this is going to trigger Beastyqt probably to train some more units, and we see a couple spears as well as a couple crossbows going to be coming out. So Beastyqt quite literally making only units that counter those knights. So one of the other things to consider is the fact that he is just quite literally making crossbows and spearmen. That is it.
And now you see a castle up there for DeMusliM, so that is going to help with the production of these knights, making them a lot cheaper. Wouldn't be surprised to see enlistment incentives coming in pretty soon on that castle as well. I think it's a spring golden placement first, just to be sure. Boiling oil could also make some sense, but in the long run, enlistment incentives is actually something that helps substantially to produce those knights.
Yeah, that's going to be a great bonus for him. He's going to be pretty happy with this position so far. He set up a pretty decent trench. He's got lots of units out here. One of the things to note is that DeMuslim's still lacking quite a fair bit of the basic economic upgrades. They're only just coming through now, just as I say that. He's getting double broadaxe as well as the specialized pick that are going to be coming through. Still yet to grab fertilization for the mill, the tier 2 just yet. But the 3 town centers going to be looking good. He's beginning to transition over towards farms as well. 18 minutes, so pretty decent timing on that farm transition. Beastyqt might be thinking about going Imperial here.
Yeah, and I think that is exactly what DeMusliM is hoping for. You see, he's massing knights. DeMusliM rather, is floating quite a lot of food, but he doesn't have the gold for Imperial, and I just don't see why DeMusliM would play this game like this if he wants to go Imperial. I just don't see the synergy between the Royal Institute, triple town centers, and then going into Imperial. It might have been just the fact that he changed his game plan on the fly, but I really get the feel that DeMusliM is just waiting for Beastie to pull the trigger. It's like, who wants to commit the tremendous amount of resources, 3,500 resources, actually more than that, to go into Imperial? And if Beastie pulls the trigger on Imp, DeMusliM is going to send in his fully upgraded Castle Age Royal Knights.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. It definitely seems like, you know, he had an idea on one hand and was sticking with it, but then obviously the information that he was provided change things up, and we actually see a mangonel coming out for DeMusliM as well. He's looking to get a bit more upgrades, so going to be going for +1 attack, ranged attack as well. So it could be that he looks to go into archers, but indeed it's going to be an age 4 coming through for Beastyqt. And now these two players getting through to the late game. I would say it's not relatively even. Typically, you would say if they get through to Imperial Age, that it's going to be in favor of the Rus player, because they've got Streltsy, they've got all those things going for them. But DeMuslim's up by 50 villagers. Sure, he's down by 4 relics, but 50 villages is a huge amount, and he's going to be able to transition that into a meaningful amount of military. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he's going to be approaching this. But keep in mind, I wouldn't be surprised if we see an elite Royal Knights come through and an immediate push, just because he's got 18 Royal Knights out already, and he's already got that bloodline upgrade.
That could be a thing as well. Like, by having the bloodlines researched in Castle Age, you don't need to wait for that in Imperial. You already have that up, so you just have to wait for the elite upgrade and you're all set. And as you see, the College of Artillery is the landmark of choice as well for DeMusliM, so he's gonna have a pretty decent response to those Rus siege weapons as well with his own Royal Culverins. It of course means that he's skipping the Red Palace though, so it's of course a trade-off that he's taking, but I like it in this scenario. And as you said, the eco is much more massive here for DeMusliM. You see he's cleaning up those towers on the north with the Knights. Timing on the Imperial is going to be pretty much identical. And the question is, what is Beastyqt going to do against that many Knights? Because now we have quite a lot of those for DeMusliM.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing out a bombard mass just like we've seen before. He loves to get these bombards out, and we've seen him hit double digits with bombards. DeMusliM going to be going up to the next age as well, and keep in mind, he's going to have access to the College of Artillery with those Culverin. And we've seen plenty of Culverin out in this series, but except they weren't from DeMusliM, they were actually from Beastyqt, but I'm sure DeMusliM would have learned a thing or two, and we see that a Royal Bombard going to be coming out here as well for DeMusliM. Greased Axle is going to be an option for him as well, or a possibility for him. Yeah, Royal Cannon coming out now, looking to dish out some damage. It'll be jumping at the first chance it gets to take down this keep.
Tithe Barns on the way for Beasty. That's going to help a lot. Having 4 relics with Tithe Barns, that's definitely a nice boost to have, and that is definitely an upgrade that became a lot more popular recently among the pros. So nowadays, if you have like at least 3 relics, you're almost guaranteed to pick up Tithe Barns in the first possible moment.
Yeah, I think the big thing there is obviously it gives you that beautiful wood trickle and stone trickle. Those two are going to be helping out a huge amount.
Especially.
Yeah, the stone is really big. It enables you to continue walling up through that late game. Going to be giving you a constant trickle, but still, I will note that the devs are still yet to fix it. It's still not giving the correct amount of stone. I'm sure they'll get it next patch, though. Don't worry.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I'm unsure if it's supposed to give the appropriate resources and the tooltip is wrong, or the tooltip is right and it's just not giving the sufficient amount of resources. Now, with Elite Royal Knight on the way, looks like we're also going to have some Arbaletier being mixed in for DeMusliM, and it seems like he's just playing this slow and grindy game over here, but that's dangerous because Beasty's catching up on the villager numbers. He's still sitting on 4 relics plus the Sacred Site.
That is indeed dangerous. Now, one of the things that we talked about a bit earlier was the fact that if both players get through to Imperial, you would rather be the Rus player. The difference is that DeMusliM has got through with a big villager lead. If Beastyqt is able to make up the villager difference and grind this game out, then it's naturally only going to become a more favored position for Beastyqt, because the longer this game goes on, the better composition the Rus is going to have, just simply because the Streltsy are able to grind down those elite Royal Knights and basically make them minced meat. There's not much they can do.
And the thing is that the Arbaletier weren't really going to do anything against those Streltsy either, because sure thing, you have the Pavisa, you have the extra melee defense, but how about a unit that just does 40 plus damage per shot on you? And you can see it in the queue, a couple of Streltsy already being mixed in here by Beasty, and that's where it's really getting dangerous. You get the feel that the window here for the French is potentially closing, because Vos are coming up as well, which will make it very difficult for those Knights and Horsemen to flank around. And more importantly, once you have a big ball of Streltsy, that's going to be difficult to deal with. Although, in one of the previous games, Beasty was able to deal with that using Camel Archers and Culverins.
Yeah, I'm sure there's always going to be a way for him. He always works it out, but I'm curious to see what DeMuslim's play is here, because he's sitting at 145 villagers at the moment. A lot of elite Royal Knights coming out, and you might be looking at that and thinking, that's a ludicrous amount of villagers. What are you possibly going to do with that? Well, the idea is that you're reinvesting those resources so quickly into your units that you're actually able to just stay afloat with that, and it actually works out to be a pretty decent amount of villagers, as long as you're trading a lot. That's going to be the big thing. He's going to be looking to do trades. And now we look to see DeMusliM coming through. He's got a fair bit of a mass built up. He's almost at max population, still yet to get out the rest of his units. You can see he's got a population. There we go. Okay, a whole bunch of Knights now coming through. I was wondering what's going on here. He's sitting at 187 just very comfortably, but now going to be queuing up a whole bunch more units, and that makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, the thing is that this game reminds me of those team games on Mountain Pass where everybody's just walling up in the middle. You play for 30 minutes with just boom, and then suddenly you both unleash your fully upgraded armies. Speaking of which, those spearmen are not elite yet. So there is still a bit of a window here for the Muslim, but as you see, the problem right now for him is that the fortifications are just too strong over here for Beast. He's got those wooden fortresses out there, Springles as well, and they could dish out a lot of punishment. They only have 30 base attack, but when you have 8 of those, they mean business.
Yeah, they really do. And now we start to see the Knights looking to move in. A couple of spears sitting back here, looking to protect. Knight's going to be able to run up and begin working down on those Springles, but they do fall back, cognizant of the fact that there's a lot of units in that choke point, and that's not a choke point you want to get through. But Bombards all of a sudden making their way towards the front line. Bombards, you guys came to the wrong neighborhood. Knights now pulling out their torches, going to be looking to take down those Bombards, doing a great job. We continue to see reinforcements flooding in. Arbalatrier together with those elite Royal Knights and Beastyqt going to be suffering a bit of a raid here as DeMusliM goes hunting for villagers potentially.
But so many Knights are dying in that battle. The value that was destroyed by DeMusliM, I don't think it matches the value that he lost. He lost like 50 and 20 Royal Knights in that battle, not even counting all the horsemen that went down over there. Another castle being attempted in the middle by DeMusliM, but now it is Beasty who is on the roll. Streltsy numbers steadily increasing, Spearmen still in the battlefield. And look at that, new castle being dropped over here by Beasty, being blocked by the Knights actually.
Yeah, he's doing a pretty decent job of trying to get through here. Beasty is trying his best. He's holding on. He's forcing the issue on this sacred site. We see a wooden fortress going to be coming up and now going to be dropping down a keep as well. But keep in mind, there's a keep going up on the opposite side. DeMusliM going to be trying to keep his head above water. He's struggling when it comes to the gold count. And you can't help but feel like a guild hall at this point would be a perfect building to actually pull a whole bunch of resources out from. He's sitting on 158 population up against Beastyqt's 177. But keep in mind, Beasty's military pop is significantly larger, more than double the size, almost triple the size. And that keep going to be going down before it even gets the chance to go up. Not going to see the light of day. Beastyqt going to be securing this position and going to continue moving forward as the Streltsy continue doing their best to dish out all that damage. Look at the Springles on the backside as well. There are 9 Springles there. They are just sitting, lying in wait, and boom, down goes the Culverin before it even gets a shot off.
Triple the army here for Beasty, and of course some of that is Springles, but you can see having that many Springles with that one, actually that half tile extra range over the Culverin is just enough to snipe it down before the Culverin can open fire. And now the Muslim realizes that he can't take direct engagements, he needs to flank around. But Beasty, he's going to start this slow and grindy push, and you see once again, it's that very systematical and methodical push that he's doing. He's taking down the buildings in front of him, securing that sacred site. He's going to start dropping the wooden fortress to secure all the ground that he has gained. And now the Muslim trying to flank around here, but there's going to be a defensive castle coming up here for Beasty. He also has a second layer behind this one. The Muslim isn't going to be able to accomplish much with that raid, most likely. And in the middle, more and more ground is gained by Beasty against the French player who is still sitting at only 40 military population.
I don't know how Beasty's always got space for siege. He's always got so much siege, and I don't know how he fits it all into his appetite here. He's only got a handful of infantry. I guess that's probably how he does it, just to try and guard it. But now that keep over on that eastern flank, it looks like it might be going down as the villagers try their best. They're going to be making their way back towards the backside, but unfortunately going to be losing their lives. You can see he's making a run for the walls. Unfortunately, one too few layers of walls are going to prevent that keep from going up, and he'll have to cancel it and walk away, I suspect.
Beasty is now securing that gold mine in the middle, and part of the equation, of course, here is the leftover minerals across the map, including that one big gold mine on the right side that Beasty was planning to build that castle next to, and now that is going to be inaccessible for Beasty. He still has a middle gold mine over here that he can take, plus, of course, 4 relics, sacred site as well as a possibility, and it looks like the Muslim is switching into archers over here. You see horsemen and archers. These are nice units, but they're not really population efficient, and that's gonna be a concern, because if you look at Beasty's army on the other hand, that is something I would call fairly population efficient.
Incredibly population efficient. Yeah, he's just basically full Streltsy. Obviously got a few spears in there, which aren't the most population efficient, but do a great job of just buffering against those knights, and that's what's going to be so important. But now we see more farms coming down for Beasty. He's really setting himself up for the late game, up to 115. But a little bit of a misplay here. Out of position, gets caught with his pants down. The knights move forward, going to be able to take down 2 of those bombards. Third bombard manages to get out, but all of a sudden, DeMusliM turning on the heat. He's going to be able to break through. There's a lot of horsemen on this front side, and now all of a sudden, the base looks like it might be open. DeMusliM could just do a bit of a run by now, and this could be absolutely terrible for Beastyqt. He's just set up his economy. He's on 117 villages, and DeMusliM says, well, hold on a minute. I'm about to rain all over your parade, my friend.
Too much siege maybe for Beasty over here. He didn't have that front line out there. But then if you look at those Springles just unleashing hell on those knights, and you see all those dead bodies littering the battlefield, once again, you gotta ask yourself the question, if the 9 Springles is the right choice, because right now it seems like it is. Beasty, he's bringing back the age of Springolds, the long gone age of Springolds that was gone ever since last November, and now DeMusliM is just running into his death over here with the villagers. Every single thing that we see in this game is looking better and better for Beasty, and with his being match point as well for him, DeMusliM has to feel a certain level of frustration and a certain level of concern.
Yeah, he's pulling the villagers now. I gotta be honest, I thought with that battle in the middle that there was gonna be a lot more units for DeMusliM making it through, but unfortunately the boiling oil just shredded all of the units. And speaking of boiling oil, those villagers gonna be feeling the wrath of the boiling oil as now DeMusliM turns his attention towards this northern sacred site and looks to try and wrestle it off Beastyqt, try and take advantage of the fact that Beasty's immobile, and indeed it looks like good game gets called. Beastyqt gonna be victorious here. 4-1 against DeMusliM in this series.
And while the scoreline looks so one-sided, this was a much more competitive set than the score indicates. Every single game was a very cutthroat, long and grindy game. It's just the fact that Beasty was able to finish all of those games. If you look at the King of the Hill game, for example, where DeMusliM held the hill for so long, yet Beasty was able to decap it. You look at this game as well. Once again, DeMusliM having a good game, but then just Beasty unleashing that late game ruse. Every single game you get the feel that both players played really well. It's just Beasty who had slight edges in each of these games, and he was able to leverage that for victories. And this is a big win for him, because we talked about this group being a very difficult group to win, just like the other group as well. But him winning 4-1 is also going to help with the win delta over here, because obviously now he's going to have 3 wins extra compared to that 1 loss.
Yeah, it's a massive deficit, and Beastyqt played that incredibly well. I'm very impressed with that late game play. Unfortunately for DeMusliM, you know, the guild hall is always the safer option, because if the game does go late, you're gonna have that extra resource in your back pocket. But unfortunately, it just wasn't the case today. He looked to try and make a bit of an early timing push there.